I've been drawn to subjects where the ability to bullshit is rewarded.
Please welcome the very funny Jimmy Carr.
So you left Shell, but you took a risk.
You take a risk when you go out on your own. It's like jumping out of a plane. You kind of go, it's so exhilarating and exciting, and then you're kind of looking around for the parachute.
Are you surprised sometimes by what works and what doesn't?
There's a wisdom to crowds. Like 50 people will tell you in a small room above a pub, the same as the O2 Arena.
Are we rolling yet?
Just roll.
Hi, I'm Richard Farley, and welcome to My Business Of series produced by City AM. In this series, we delve deep into various sectors and the individuals who define them, exploring what it takes to stand out, achieve success, and adapt to evolving markets. Today's episode focuses on the business of comedy, and I'm thrilled to have Mr. Jimmy Carr as my guest. Jimmy is one of the world's most successful and renowned stand-up comedians, celebrated for his rapid-fire delivery and rather dark humour. His accolades include the British Comedy Award for Best Live Stand-Up in 2006. He constantly tours, he graces television screens, Netflix specials, and popular podcasts. Let's uncover what truly drives him and how he navigates the ever-changing landscape of comedy.
You're a great person to interview here because what I was going to say, you're an enigma. An enigma for three reasons. It's always risky to say that when you're speaking through, because by the time you get through one or two, you forget the third one.
Yeah, well, that's the enigmatic nature of these things.
Now, you're an enigma because you're a very nice person, which I've got to know, a very nice person, but on stage, I'd be scared of you. Right?
Yeah.
Secondly, you're dyslexic, but you're extremely well read, which you pick up very quickly from talking to you, and I know that that's real. It's not just something you've looked up on Google and whacked in your book, because when I'm speaking to you as a friend, you come up with a lot of things. And thirdly, I've managed to remember the third one, is that you took a big risk by famously leaving the job at Shell and working, going into comedy, an unpaid job in comedy. Whereas you don't strike me, you're so methodical. You're like a chess player, the way you approach it, you're like a professional athlete, the way you approach comedy, but you took a risk, which is sort of at contrast to quite a controlled person.
The risk thing is interesting for me because I can't remember who said this, but it's a great quote. They said the biggest addiction in America is not opiates, it's a monthly salary. And I really think for me, the big step change, like people often sort of think about, well, I'm going to move from this job to this job and I'll get paid 15% more or 20% more, whatever it is, it doesn't make any odds. I think working for yourself and working for a company, that's the big difference there. So you take a risk when you go out on your own, but it's like jumping out of a plane. You kind of go, it's so exhilarating and exciting, and then you're kind of looking around for the parachute. And then working for yourself, it's very difficult it gives you a work ethic because you can't turn stuff down.
For me, business is disruption, discovery, and defense. So disruption is having an idea that's going to be game-changing. Discovery is testing that idea, and defense is kind of implementing that idea so it will be successful over time. And then I started to think about, imagine if you were to come on Dragon's Den at 25 and say, I've got this idea, I'm going to take my product, me, on the market. Who wants to finance me? Who wants to put money in? Who wants to buy shares? What am I worth? Should I do this?
Yeah, well, it's a weird thing, comedy, because the barriers to entry are so very low. You're standing there with a microphone. Often with the small clubs, you don't even need a mic. It's tiny. And you're going up there and you're saying, I think I can make people laugh. And it's a very unusual skill set. Neil Brennan, my friend, was sort of saying, he gave a speech at the Just for Laughs Festival a couple of years ago. And Neil was talking about how there's 60,000 brain surgeons in the world. How many guys would you trust to do an hour of stand-up comedy? How many guys would you buy a stand-up special from? And it's very few. Very few people that have this kind of skill set. And yet it's something that it taps into everything that humanity does well. Because it's essentially, I think, a sense of humor is a byproduct of our communication skills. And really, our communication skills are everything. But what we do brilliantly is we cooperate. And I think as a society, one of the sort of big things we've done is we've oversolved for the individual, without recognizing its cooperation that makes everything happen. If you have one human in the jungle, you've fed the animals. If you have 20 animals in the jungle, you have an apex predator. And the idea that humor is a byproduct of this kind of ability for us to have bigger social groupings
When did you realise you were funny? Did you ever think you were funny at 5 years old? Were you making the other kids laugh?
I think that's like philosophically, like often now I'm a man in my 50s, so people, you often get people wanting advice. And my advice is always, what do you find easy that other people find difficult? And sometimes you can't even see it. You can't see the wood for the trees because you go, well, of course that's simple. Because you find it's just easy to you. It's play for you. Other people find it incredibly difficult to stand up in front of others and speak, or they find it very difficult to make other people laugh and to connect. I found that incredibly easy.
So at what age, do you remember being funny as a 5-year-old?
Okay, I always think like with comedians, if you're interviewing comedians again, my one question to comics, which of your parents was sick?
Yeah,
It tends to be that you have a slightly dysfunctional home life and you have to become the barometer and the thermostat for mood in the house.
Well,
so you have an ability.
Very empathetic to read other people's emotions and how they feel about things. But you're, I don't want to talk too much about your mum, but she was sick when you were in your mid-20s.
Yeah.
So by that metric, you wouldn't have been funny until your mid-20s.
No, she was a depressive her whole life. That's what led to the ability to be funny.
Were you able to make your mum laugh? Did she laugh?
Yes.
So you learned at some age that if you were funny, that you would get a positive response from the person you cared about.
Very early. My earliest memory is having a lumbar puncture. I had meningitis, and I was having a spinal tap. Yeah. And the doctor was a very nice doctor. I was about maybe 4 or 5, and the doctor saying to me, this is going to hurt. And me saying in a little lispy voice as a kid, like, "Oh, you got to be cruel to be kind," and he kind of laughed, and it kind of lightened the whole, kind of took the air out of it.
You took being funny at home, and then did you take that to the playground?
I think it's Bertrand Russell has this quote about we don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing, and for me, play has always been a very important part of life. Like that idea that everyone at school was funny. I just didn't stop. Everyone else at some point went, right, we're taking things a bit more seriously. Kind of post-college, everyone gets very serious about everything. And in the workplace, people don't joke. They don't mess around. I like the idea that people should mess around. I think there's a creativity to that that seems incredibly healthy.
Did you make the other kids laugh?
Yeah, so the idea like at school, but everyone was funny. I wouldn't have said that I was like the funniest kid.
Yeah.
In the everyone had that thing, and that's how you judged friendship. There's a great who's the guy? Victor Borg. Laughter is the shortest distance between two people. Like you laugh with your friends, you laugh with family. I think at best stand-up comedy is a proxy for that. So you come up with a scenario where you're all 1,000 people in a room or 2,000 people, and you all feel like it's an in-joke. But I didn't dream that it would be a career. I didn't think that could be a way to make a living. I mean, comedy really wasn't a business. Comedy's quite new. I think comedy is, you could trace it back to the early 70s. You could say that Lenny Bruce was John the Baptist and George Carlin and Richard Pryor were, the
Jesuses.
The coming, yeah.
Yes.
But the idea, it's quite a new medium. It's like 50 years old. The idea of buying a ticket to go and see a comedian that stands on stage that talks for 2 hours and you go along and
I want to get onto the industry
that
in a second, because that's industry and how it's changed. But so let's say you as a product. So I think from what I understand from your book, you were at Shell, which was really interesting. I'd love to have a time machine and go back and watch you at Shell to see, if you weren't happy with something or how you responded in different situations, right? But so you're at Shell, and I think they sent you on a course, a comedy. Did you end up, or they sent you on a communication course, but that led to you doing a comedy course?
I think they sent me on I did lots of sort of NLP. I did lots of therapy. I think it's often the case with large companies where they have like training budgets that are designed for upstream. So that Shell has a training budget that's designed for the guys that work on the oil rigs. It's incredibly dangerous work. And they've got to do a safety course every 4 months. And they've got to do a new technology course because they've got to be able to use this thing. Great. But they've got the same budget for people working in marketing in the Strand going, I mean, we're going to be fine. Nothing bad's going to happen here. But so they sort of sent us off, and we did these courses in things like, NLP, which is kind of, cognitive behavioral therapy by a different name. But I found it absolutely fascinating. And it was a way of kind of, I suppose, shifting perspectives and sort of looking at the map is not the territory, and quite stoic in a way, the idea that you go, your reaction to the world is kind of the important thing. When you look back on a career, it's easy to sort of imagine, you left a corporate job that was fine, but the good is the enemy at the best, and you decided to be a comedian that plays 50 countries in the world and sells 2 million tickets on a tour. But you go, obviously not. I left to join the circus. Yeah. I left because I felt like the measurable metric was not important.
Yeah. So you got the idea because you did those, and you did political science and social science at Cambridge. So were you good at maths and sort of the hard subjects as well?
No, I did like economics was as close as I got to maths.
So because
economics has got no maths in it, really.
But you studied the sort of humanities.
Yeah.
And then you went into marketing, which is humanity, and then you're talking about people. You often talk about people and how they interact.
I've been drawn to subjects and careers where the ability to bullshit is rewarded. I mean, really, all of those you can kind of bullshit your way through.
So you left Shell.
Yeah.
And you're a little bit dismissive of the corporate world. Why would I do that horrible world? Like it was almost like that was, but it actually sounds wasn't a bad.
I've got friends that work in that world, and they do very well, and they've had great careers. Yeah. It just wasn't for me. Some people thrive in that, and they really like it.
Were you ever? No, see, okay, so you still haven't really convinced a dragon that I should back this, but let me, so because this is interesting, because this must have been in your mind when you took that risk.
I didn't know Morgan Housel at the time. I had not read The Psychology of Money because it hadn't been written. But that idea of going, okay, so you've got your income and you've got your outgoings. And actually, if your income exceeds your outgoings, you're going to be okay. So really leaving was about going, well, I just won't spend any money. I just don't need anything.
For all comedians that try, who want to be a full-time professional comedian, what percentage, so a bit like an entrepreneur, they say 1 in 10 works, right? But in comedy, what percentage would make it?
I'm going to be a dick about it, but to answer the question, to say what percentage make it, well, there's one way of answering that goes, well, it's only a tiny percentage that kind of make it to the top of the showbiz pyramid, and you've heard of, and they've got Netflix specials. Okay, that's one way of looking at it. There's another way of looking at it going, well, anyone that tried comedy probably did better in life as a result of it, because their interpersonal relationships and the way that they get on in business.
But that's not going to wash on Dragon's Den, is it? Yeah. With the money side saying, okay, you want to make a living out of this, and it may not be your living, but a living. How many, I'm just interested roughly, is there 1,000 try and one makes a living out of it?
No, it's because I think there's got to be something that makes you kind of want to get up there and try it. So, and then it's about those things of like, you get a lot of very creative people, and then you get people that are conscientious. And when those two meet, that tends to be sort of not a guarantee of success, but it's
funny.
Yeah, but the funny is okay, so you're creative. If you're conscientious, that you get a lot of creative people that don't have any conscientious. So putting a whole show together or doing that repeatedly over time. That was going to
be my next question. So I'm not sure. So would you say, let's say 1 in 10 make it? I mean,
not as many as that. Right. I'd say probably 1 in 10 might make it to that kind of
make a living stage.
No, to doing a 20-minute set.
Right.
And then 1 in 20 of those might make it to Edinburgh to do an hour.
Okay.
And then the second hour it really tails off.
Because your industry, I was thinking about. Like if you're a singer, you can be objective. People go on, they think they're on the shows and they think they're a good singer or a bad singer. They think they're a good singer and they're clearly not. But that could be measured quite easily by a singing instructor saying, you're not hitting this note, you're not holding this note. A pianist or a musician, right. You're not playing it right, you're out of time. Like objectively you can say you are no good. But with comedy, you can't objectively test it in the laboratory. You have to go on stage to test the discovery process, that I call the discovery process, does involve testing. There's no other way.
Yeah, there's a very clear analogy there. You can go on Carnegie Hall as a guitarist and you can play the song in rehearsal and you're still playing the song. And it's still a song. even if the crowd aren't there. I can't go up and say that I'm just saying words,
Yeah.
and then the audience is such an important part of it. There is an illusion in my business where people imagine I'm the only one performing because I'm standing on stage. And actually, I think what people enjoy about sports and music and comedy is it's performative. Watching it is performative. So if you think about, I mean, music's kind of an easier example, because when Bruce Springsteen says, how you doing tonight? And everyone goes, yeah. If you say that in Starbucks, you'd be sectioned. People would think you're crazy. What? But it's entirely appropriate within that environment. So the idea, laughter is a very social, very mimetic thing. People come out to gigs and they laugh together, and you test your material. The audience is a genius. They tell me what is and what isn't funny, and what is and what isn't acceptable.
Yeah,
if you're willing to throw enough out there, if you're willing to write all the time and to be reasonably kind of stoic about it and just go, okay, this grows corn. If I write jokes and they work, if I try 10 jokes and one works. The problem with creativity, I think, for a lot of people is Disney was very good on this. He would have 3 different rooms for creativity. So you go, well, I've got a creative room, and then I've got a management room of like how would I make that work, and then I've got another room to sort of criticize that. But you don't get to the critic until you've kind of got the, okay, well, that's the idea for the joke. How do you make the joke better or deliver it more? And then you criticize at the end. I think some people get to the critic too early, and they dismiss, I won't even bother writing it down.
So I'm trying to get to how objective can you be in comedy? You know, are you surprised sometimes by what works and what doesn't? So in business, I've been surprised. I've had businesses that worked, which I thought, and other things which I really thought would work and haven't. You know, and even in retrospect, I can't tell you why some work and some don't. Can you sometimes think this joke is a winner but it doesn't work?
No, I think the analogy is perfect. I think it's the same. You don't know. And there's a wisdom to crowds. Like 50 people will tell you in a small room above a pub, the same as the O2 Arena.
Right. But I think now you have a technique where you slip in a beta version joke every time, don't you? Just to see
at the end of every show, I get out a bit of paper and I'll do new jokes.
Yes.
At the end of every show. And that's like, it's at the end of the show as well. When you've done your closer, you've done the big.
So here's my
finale.
test joke. Does anyone think it's funny, sort of thing?
Yeah. And then let's read these.
Does the audience know you're testing it?
Yeah, you say. You get out a piece of paper and say, I'm going to read you some jokes now. And so you're taking away the delivery. So you're taking away like 20% of the illusion, because they know this guy's just reading a joke. He hasn't even bothered to learn these yet. But you are testing it in front of people, and it's a bit Wizard of Oz. They're sort of seeing behind the curtain of, oh, okay, this is his process. All right. It's kind of interesting anyway. And I think letting people in on that. And the idea that you do it at every show.
Have you seen any amazing comedians, what you think are very talented comedians, fail? So in business, a good idea can fail. It happens all the time. Can a good comedian fail?
There's there's levels. I mean, the big leap in comedy is going from you play the clubs, and people are going to see comedy, and there was 3 comics on. Who were they? Well, I don't know. The 3 of them. I like the one in the middle. You know, you're one of the guys in the clubs, and it's a great testing ground for you. And then you find your audience, and then it's self-selecting. So people that come and see you. So there's slight audience capture there where you push it further and further because your audience want more of that. That's what they're into. And then when you go and play the clubs, I tend not to play the clubs in the UK, but I do in the States. I'll do the Comedy Store, and you play these clubs, and you just go, you're doing 10 minutes, and people might not necessarily know who you are, and you're on a mixed bill with other people, and it's really fun to have to kind of sell it to a general crowd. I don't think there's anyone that's a great comedian that's like not recognised in their age. Occasionally, you get someone like an Andy Kaufman, who's regarded as a comedy genius. And the audience, 10% of the audience thought he was incredible. Yeah. And most people kind of didn't get it or weren't in on it at the time. Yeah. But you could argue that's comic genius.
Even in music, that song "Wicked Game," Chris Isaac, that song. I mean, we brought it out. You'd think if I brought out that song, you'd be pretty happy, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
It wasn't a hit for 6 months. It was only by chance some radio station started replaying it, and it took off. That song almost failed. So when you hear stories like that, and there's a lot of stories like that in business and all over the place, you just think, my goodness, some good stuff doesn't succeed.
I don't know. Comedy seems it's the closest, I think, in the arts to a meritocracy. Like you don't really require reviewers in comedy. I mean, people do review shows, but who could give a flying fuck? Like, oh, the reviewer didn't find it funny. Well, I find that guy great. Like, if you watch something and you don't find it funny, a stand-up special, what are you even doing? Because after 5 minutes, you should be able to ascertain whether this is for you or not. And the great thing about my business, the last sort of 10, 15 years, the breadth of comedy that's out there. I mean, there really is something for everyone.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you about the industry. So there's you as a product in the industry, which is a comedy world. You know, comedy seems to have taken off. You know, I'm 64 years old, so I've seen it sort of from Richard Pryor, who I know you really admire, you know, but it's just taken off dramatically. So it's just becomes a thing you do now. Like when I was a student, you go, you know, it was always a bit dingy where you go and watch a bit of comedy, you know, but now it's like venues full of 5,000 or 6,000 people. You know, it's comedy.
More. I mean, it
seems to have gotten easier. There's more demand, but equally, when you bring a joke out now, it's got a timeline. It's got a time limit. You can't repeat the same thing forever.
Well, I mean, you know, you can certainly repeat it on tour, but I mean, I put a lot of stuff out immediately on the social media, whether it's TikTok or X or Facebook or YouTube, and you put it out across all those mediums, and you tape every gig.
Not when you're still telling that joke. Or?
No, but I mean,
So you have like a yearly cycle.
No, I've got jokes that I would regard as stick it on YouTube. That's fine, and then the stuff that you save for the Netflix special that you regard as that's the heart of the set. But if I'm doing 2 hours on stage, there's an hour of stuff that you can kind of throw away, and there's an hour of stuff that you go, well, that's kind of what I want to put on the next Netflix thing.
So why has comedy exploded? Has it exploded?
I haven't really given this a lot of thought, but I would imagine that, again, it's the individual versus the group, right? So if you think about our culture generally, we have, it's a liberal democracy, right? So liberal, the individual, democracy, demos. We're overplayed the liberal, the individual, and people feel incredibly connected online, but they're isolated. They're hermetically sealed with their headphones on doing their thing. Going out to comedy is a group activity where it feels incredibly, you know, why do people all want to go to Glastonbury? Why do people want to go to comedy shows? To feel sort of part of something, to enjoy it with other people. It's a catharsis. It's a way of, in a society where, you know, we're on the woke thing is nothing new. But the idea of going, it's people speaking freely.
Well, maybe it's like church used to be. You know, maybe it's because you can go to the cinema, but you're not going to interact in any way whatsoever with other people. But at comedy, if you all laugh, you all sort of share the experience, and you show your appreciation all through it. You know, maybe you know, you don't chat on the way up particularly, but
I don't know. I mean, I think that's almost certainly a subconscious thing. I don't think anyone is thinking, I want to go and be part of something. But when they buy a ticket. But I think that is part of it. And the idea that you go, comedy's become something that's incredibly authentic in a world that's full of voices that feel very inauthentic.
Okay.
You know, whether it's politics or business. There's a lot of people kind of saying what they think.
So, would it have changed without social media? Would it have changed anyway because we're all stuck looking at our phone that we want to go and do something like comedy? Do you think that would be enough, or is it because I can now go on YouTube and I can watch you and go, you're amazing, and go and see you? I mean, is society pushing us into that sort of want to getting out and enjoy a Saturday night out, or you know, a night out with Jimmy? Is society pushing us to that, or is it just because now we see it all the time, we hear it all the time? You know, all the time we're told to laugh, which is quite nice.
Yeah, it's become. I think it's the authenticity of it, because it's the kind of a crook. Like anyone that's selling something they wouldn't buy themselves. That's a grift, right? Comics don't do that. Like comics we're showbiz adjacent. So I was chatting to Robbie Williams about this. His thing was, he said, I'm an entertainer in the true sense. If you don't love me, I don't love me. Right?
He's a sad...
Heartbreaking, right?
Yes.
That's a real entertainer. Comics desperately want to be loved, but it's very authentic. I want to be loved for this. This is stuff. I've got to find this funny first. So although the audience tells me what is and what isn't funny of the stuff I've written, it's all stuff that I find funny.
You know, I got to know you before I saw you on stage. Then I got to know you as a very nice, well-read person, and then I was going to go and see you, and you warned me. You said, I don't know if you remember, but you said, you're going to see a different me on stage. I'm like, yeah, okay. And then I went like, wow, is this the same person? And so I'm just interested because what you're talking about, authenticity. And then, you know, I'm like, which Jimmy is the real Jimmy? You know, so you got this lovely person who asked about your family, and, you know, knows a lot about, very caring, obviously a very caring person. That at what point did you decide that your persona on stage, which I don't know is the case with Michael McIntyre or Ricky Gervais, or like I don't know if that's the case with them, but I get the feeling that that's more them. But I get with you knowing you, you are right, completely different person on stage.
I mean, I don't really see it like that because I sort of see it.
I think
like,
it's just as well.
You just go like, okay, right. So I'm in service when I'm on stage, right?
Yeah.
So people have paid their money and they've come out and they want to see a show. And I always think like you're in service of the audience. You're in service of the crowd. So you go, right, okay, we've got to make these people laugh 3 times a minute for the next 90 minutes. And these are the jokes. What's going to get to that quickly?
Yeah.
And you can be nice, but I'm not going for charming on stage.
No, but that's my point. But you're a charming person. But you're at what point did you? I know you tried anecdotal comedy. I think in the early days.
I've tried bits of that, and sometimes I'll do things that are longer stories now. So I mean, my love language is the one-liner. I like one-liners. I like kind of almost the maths of that, like the joke maths of going. Okay, well that structure, the idea that jokes are offensive or could offend, is to me slightly ridiculous.
Is there a line? Like when is it too soon? Like say September 11 terrorist attacks.
Yeah.
On September 12th, could you have stood on stage and made a joke about it?
I think Louis C.K. did. Yeah.
And I think you're on stage when the Paris attacks happened.
I was taping a special.
Stage, would you have made a joke real time about?
I did at the end of the show. There's a joke about it.
Right.
But that thing of going.
So there's no too soon. There's no too soon.
No, but that you're speaking as if there's one audience, and you can joke about anything, but not with anyone. There's different audiences. Some people are ready to laugh at stuff straight away. Some people will never be ready. Some people have got something that triggers them that's incredibly sensitive, and comedy's not for them, because if anyone trips across that thing, it's too much for them. I think you have to be quite an equal opportunities offender in terms of going, you're not just picking on one group, you're sort of going, well, everything that's being talked about, everything in the zeitgeist you can make jokes about it.
Is there anything you wouldn't joke about?
Sometimes you can't think of anything funny. I mean, that's about it. I think joking about stuff is if something strikes you as funny, and also that feeling of, okay, this is really edgy, and can I joke about this? Is this okay? Yeah, go towards that. Go, because the audience are thinking the same thing. And the audience will get your intention counts for a lot as well with comedy.
Yes.
And the audience this isn't, you're not trying to change anyone's
But if I had to talk
point of view.
If I had to talk being in business mode a little bit, if we were talking about market segmentation, so Michael McIntyre's got the family, your 12-year-old son can see that, child can see that.
Yeah.
And you've got the tougher end. I wouldn't take a 10-year-old to see you.
Probably not, but I imagine they're watching it online.
Yes, I know they probably are. But is that segmentation, like that's your patch? Is that, at what point did you always know that was going to be your patch? Or did you when you first tried as a 25-year-old?
Because I think when I started, I was watching I'd grown up watching lots of Billy Connolly, and I really liked those long, vivid stories that he told.
Yeah.
But that's not my gift. I think you sort of find out who you are. You find your authentic voice through doing stand-up comedy. It's not like you don't go, well, I'm going to do this kind of thing. Yeah. It's what you're drawn to.
Say Billy Connolly, when I watched him, I'd find something so funny, and then you leave, or you stop listening, and you think, I'm going to tell that joke, and you think, it's actually not that funny, but it's the way he tells it, and then also he's laughing through it, and you just get, he's just a great storyteller.
That thing of going, the telling of a joke, the medium is everything. The medium of a storyteller, I think, gets to us as humans. I think the idea of someone speaking to the group has been since time immemorial. There's always been that. And there's a reason, look at the gap in the market, okay? The stand-up comedy books just full of jokes. Very niche joke book. I mean, I love joke books, but they're very niche. They're not successful. People don't buy them. People don't buy the book of George Carlin's material. They watch it and it works as a spoken word, but it doesn't work when it isn't spoken word. Yep. It's a performative thing. So, of course, the telling of is incredibly important.
Right, I see. So it's all the performance.
It's a mix. It's the performance, it's the writing, it's the, sometimes often I'll see a comedian and it'll be one or the other, be a great performer or a great writer. And it's when the two come together, that's really special.
Yeah.
But often you can just appreciate, someone that's quite new and they've clearly sat and they've written really great stuff and they don't quite know how to perform it yet. but they'll get there. Or equally, you get a great performer that could sell anything, and they're just messing around. But they've kind of got it's a gossamer where you go, there's nothing kind of there.
In the early days, and I think the same was with McCartney and Lennon. I think in the early days they thought, oh well, these guys wouldn't be bad songwriters for someone else. I think you might have said in your book that that you at one point thought you might be a comedy writer. Right?
No, I think my manager thought I was going to be a comedy writer, and I went, no, I want to be. I was like, I had enough to go.
So your manager, to go backwards, at 25, your manager was, well, I don't have the same, at 25.
Someone,
but they didn't necessarily believe.
No, but that's okay.
So just to go back to that discovery process,
yeah.
You didn't make any money. I don't think you got paid, or you made no money for the first year. How long would you have given yourself? And would it have been a money thing, or if you went up on stage and you thought you were funny, but no one laughed?
I think no one laughing would have been the thing. That would have been, okay, this is not for me. No one's interested in this. But,
most people, are scared. A lot of people are scared just to, even do this or talk on stage. Like, even if they have to give a 3-minute speech, prepared, they're terrified. I mean, so the terror level, when I'm talking about, the barrier to entry, the terror level of being a comedian would scare. I think I'd be a bit scared to go up and have to make people laugh, especially the first few. And, you just immediately think they're not going to laugh. I mean, did that ever happen to you?
Not really. I mean, I think that there is that thing where you go, the anxiety you feel, going on stage is kind of proportionate with how much preparation you've done. So maybe at the beginning of a tour, if you're not quite sure what am I doing this evening, that you could be nervous. If you've got nothing to do on stage, you'd be nervous. You're standing in front of people, I got nothing here. Whereas if you've got,
and you've written stuff, do you have a bunch of friends that are good litmus test for
it doesn't work.
Doesn't it?
It really doesn't work. It's that thing of telling someone a joke actually because the reaction is like, oh,
but do you ever slip it in that so they don't know they're being tested, that it's being tested?
Sometimes, I think early on you would do that a bit more. But I think actually now I do 8 shows a week, every week. I get it out of my system. I can relax. I don't need to be, testing it on other people. You have things that work kind of in a dinner party setting or whatever, but really...
It's not a test. It's got to be on stage.
No, you want it to be on stage with an audience. It's a very particular thing.
Has the audience changed? And do you get different audiences on different nights or different, the gender makeup or age makeup? Do you ever change your show, or do you ever change your show halfway through, basing it on...
No, this sounds terrible, but it's all about me. My name's on the ticket. Yeah, just... Well, it's the great Evel Knievel line. I'm not paid for the jump. I'm paid for the attempt. My audience, I think, have grown with me. I'm always very keen on you watch and young people are coming. Young people are coming to the show. You've kept hold of your crowd. I always think that thing of probably the social media is selling it to younger people, and they're coming out to shows, or they're growing into that. They're at an age where they can buy a ticket to something and go and see a show. They come and see you, and you've not lost any audience. You don't want to lose any, so it's growing every tour. And really, the show tonight is that I've already got the money. It's great. It's a sales pitch for next time.
Yes.
That's all it is. It's just a sales pitch.
Just as an aside, when I've watched the shows, there seem to be a lot of couples. Does it tend to be a coupley thing? Or you get?
I think it's about 50-50 male-female.
Right.
I'm not sure to what extent. I mean, you probably analyse it on who's buying the most tickets, but yeah, it seems to be pretty. If it's your sense of humour is very personal. It's really. I mean, the only analogies really are food and sex. For some people like spicy food and crazy sex, and some people like mild food and missionary, and some people like edgy comedy, and some people like mild. But really, no one makes a choice. No one goes, right, spicy food. That's the thing for me. I'm going to eat spicy stuff. It's like it's what your taste is. Yeah. It's what you're kind of, you like, and what you actually laugh at.
Yes.
As opposed to some people I think would probably aspire to going, well, I'd like to laugh at, Shakespeare.
When I look at it as a business, it's a delightful industry to be successful in, because your ads on YouTube or all the social media, your ads, you get paid for your ads.
The biggest advert I do is every 3 years I do a Netflix special.
Yes.
And it globally it goes around the world on the biggest platform in the world.
And you probably get paid for that. I mean, I imagine
you do get paid for that, and it's an ad.
But that's you don't pay to make an ad. You get paid to make an ad. So I don't know how many industries are like that. I'm sure shampoo wouldn't be quite the same, or car companies.
It's an interesting, from a business point of view as well. I've got a lot of friends in bands, and they'll often go, "What? So you just a mic?" You're in the O2 just with a microphone. What?
Yeah, well, I think that
You're keeping all the money.
Do you ever worry about competition? You know, there's this thing that if you put if a McDonald's next to a Pizza Hut or whatever, even though they're competitors, they'll both do better because people associate that. It's clustering. Like if Michael McIntyre does well, it's like, oh, that's funny. We'll go and see another comedy. We'll go and see Jimmy.
100%. I think
do you get that effect, or do
bigger
people?
pie.
Is there a limited pound for comedy?
No,
if I went to see him?
the idea of it being a zero-sum game is,
right.
Yeah, no, we are competing with, okay, so cinema's probably down the last 10 years and comedy's massively up.
So you prefer other comedians to do very well?
100%,
and I don't mean to be.
100%. But also that thing of like going, there's no best in comedy. Don't be the best, be the only. It's great advice for life as well. Don't be the best, be the only. Be you know, if you could be a non-fungible human, that's a great thing to be.
Right, which you definitely are on stage.
You go, but you don't want anyone else to do what you do. And the idea that you go, if you look at my kind of body of work or whatever, the stuff I've done, you go, yeah, there's a certain style of joke that he writes. There's a certain way that he looks at the world. So you go, the specials are, or certainly the last kind of 3 or 4 specials are the same, except for every single word. And they get better. There's no real honor to being better than anyone else, but better than yourself last year. That's the aim.
So you don't view other comedians as competition. You don't compete on price. Like I think it's about 45 quid to see a show.
I think it's probably less than that in a theatre and more in an arena.
So you don't really compete on price. But
I think so, because what are you looking for from a night out? I think you're looking for a laugh. Most people go, oh, a night out, what do you want? Well, you want a laugh and you want a couple of drinks and something to talk about. And the comedy show kind of delivers it all because you go.
Yeah.
I think what comedy delivers for people is that thing in politics, the Overton window. Okay, so there's a thing called the Overton window, which is what is and what isn't acceptable to talk about now. And it shifts, right? So it was different 10 years ago, vastly different 50 years ago, about what's the most left-wing, what's the most right-wing you could be at a dinner party as a politician and discuss it. And things they move, right? So there's slightly moved to the right now with, Trump and the global vibe shift in politics. Okay, so that's politics, Overton windows. I think there's a conversational, cultural Overton window of what is and what isn't acceptable to talk about in life. And I think comedy massively shifts it and broadens that. What you can and what you can't talk about, what is and what isn't acceptable to have a conversation about. I think it broadens it. I think we're very much kind of the canary in the coal mine. Yeah. Like if you think about the 1970s and 80s, people start to talk about their sex lives on stage in a way that opens people, because we can have a conversation about this. Yes. And it gives people the language to, and in quite a light way to sugar the pill. I'm like, we can talk about this.
It's quite funny that while that's happening, the woke movement, and not criticising one way or the other, but that's kind of narrowing what you can say or what people can say. I'm not saying rightly or wrongly, but it has narrowed what people can say.
But it's exactly the same thing as the left and the right kind of do the same trick. Like the right used to be, ban this filth. And the left say, well, this is harmful to people. It's the same thing. It's control of language. And I think it's left and right doesn't make any sense to me. It's freedom. Liberty versus authoritarianism, and I'm for freedom.
You're obviously very well read, and you draw on a lot of input. You're always like a David Bowie of inputs. But you're one thing I still don't understand. My third dilemma or third enigma factor was that you're dyslexic, but you're incredibly well read. You listen to a lot of podcasts or something and you did.
I listened to a lot of books actually.
But you at Cambridge you couldn't do that. But you for a dyslexic you read. You're very well.
Yeah, but I think the thing about dyslexia, I think this might be Rory Sutherland was talking about this recently, the advertising kind of guru, was talking about how neurologically divergent people are, it's a feature, not a bug. If everyone in society thought in the same way, we'd all get the same results, right? So the idea, you need some neurologically different people to think in a different way to get us to the other place. for progress to happen.
So bring this back to you being able to read well, and
If you're dyslexic, you're looking at the world in a different way. It's naturally there's a perspective shift.
so you think it became a strength, so your weakness became, it pushed you into different.
Yeah, I like that thing of like you're often drawn towards the thing that's maybe it's a little bit scary to you.
Right.
So,
But you also
the
say
idea of like, I couldn't read in class.
You also say, which is quite clever in your book, you say don't mess about with what you're weak on. Do what you're good at. So,
Yeah.
But just because I want to, you just in the time we have, when I talk about AI, I was going to talk about AI, and I now know that you value the performance is more important than the actual material. I could run through. And I had a go at it. I said to ChatGPT, give me a whole lot of 2-word examples which could be taken 2 ways, And one was like, and one it came up with hot date. So I'm like, I thought it was a hot date, but it turned out to be a cold sultana or something. Like just a simple. But it can't be long before I could put in 1,000 of your jokes.
Yeah.
And say, put a large language model and say, give me some jokes that Jimmy would write. And would you ever do that? And would you complain if someone did?
I think I did. We did a thing years ago. Actually, my friend Charlie Skelton put it together, where a bunch of guys working on AI and a bunch of comedy writers got together in Oxford, and we discussed for a day, how this might change things. And you go, well, AI currently is kind of a covers band, so you could be fooled into thinking it was coming up with something original, but what it's doing is it's ripping off a lot of different sources at the same time, and it's kind of in the same way as I don't tend to worry about China that much. I think China's a covers band in the same way AI is a covers band.
Right.
They don't do any new technology.
But so
they just rip their...
a lot of professions may be adversely implicated, affected by AI. So if you're an accountant, then it'll figure out, and it uses past work. And like musicians and you yourself, they acknowledge the previous musicians and comedians. So all AI is doing, and there's a lot of complaints from musicians now, but one argument against it is that they've been doing that for years. Everyone has drawn on previous, and all AI is doing is drawing on previous. But would you object if someone ran here's a JC Jimmy, it will answer questions like he would, or would.
I don't think so. I don't think you need to be scared of that. I think your job won't be taken by AI. It'll be it might be taken by a guy using it, but that thing of like going, if it aids in creativity, then that's to the good. I think the idea of going, it's about the character on stage and who's telling the joke.
Yes,
and it's a live medium. So the idea that AI is just going to spit something out on your phone, well, that isn't the experience.
The role of luck, and I think every entrepreneur, every time I read a business book, and or almost any biography of someone successful, I'm always looking for the luck. And obviously, there's a hell of a lot of hard work, obviously. But even in the comedian world, Dame Edna, Barry Humphries.
Yes, I knew.
I think he turned up at the radio in Melbourne, the woman was supposed to do Dame Edna's voice, and she didn't arrive. She was ill. So they said to him, can you just put on a woman's voice? And that bit of sort of luck changed his whole life. Did you have anything like that?
So many of those. So here's the thing. I don't think we think of, for me, gratitude is the answer, right? Gratitude is the most important thing, because the only thing that's going to change your, disposition is more important than position, right? How do you think about the world? Well, the only thing that changes disposition meaningfully is gratitude, and being grateful on a bigger level. So if you do a gratitude practice, if you think about what am I grateful for, like partly it's like, I worked hard for that. A lot of guys in business go, there's 2 great myths. There's the myth of he worked so hard. Bill Gates was there before everyone, he left after everyone, he put the hours into and there's the myth of the genius, especially in the arts. This guy's just a genius. It's always a mix of the two. It's always the two.
But what about the ugly word that no one really likes to talk about is luck?
Okay, here's the luck that I had. Okay, if you watch, the good analogy is Barbie, Oppenheimer. Right, so everyone looks at that movie or whatever, Barbie, and they go, Margot Robbie, she's so lucky. I mean, she's a 10. She's phenomenal looking. She was born like that. Incredible. No one looks at Oppenheimer and goes, well, he was born with an IQ of 180. And also, hard work is 60, 70% heritable. I think it might even be more than that. So the idea that you're born with a certain propensity for creativity and also a work ethic, it's all luck. It's all luck.
But
the
often
idea
there's
that
a tipping point. Often there is something you can point your finger at. I think for you, would it have been? I think getting on TV.
I considered myself a success before that.
Right.
So I considered myself when I was playing the Comedy Store in London, and I could sustain my life, my income, and my outgoings were like, okay, I've got slightly more. I'm doing fine. It was very early on in comedy, and it was like, okay, this is enough. This is perfect.
Yeah.
I'm telling jokes. I'm hanging out with my friends. It's a really fun existence.
Yes.
And I think that thing in life, it's the
But there was
where you get into.
There was no tipping point. There wasn't like, oh, I just got that gig, or I
That
just
one
got
thing.
that phone call, or I just, I was about to give up, and so it's been.
Well, the journey's been really fun. But I think if you point at kind of any one thing of like, I think a lot of people look at certainly in the UK, look at my career and go, oh, the TV, that must be the thing, being on TV. And you sort of go, no, that's a side hustle. The stand-up thing is like, the kind of you make your own luck a little bit on, you keep on turning up and you do that many. So you certainly, you give yourself, I sort of think the hard work is you're buying lottery tickets. It doesn't necessarily pay off.
No.
But it's quite a fair
more you have,
business.
the more you have.
You keep on writing shows and going to Edinburgh every year and building an audience and building an audience and building an audience, and eventually it pays off. So, but the luck factor of going that this industry even exists, that like I could be 10 times funnier than I am and more hardworking and born in North Korea.
Yes, right.
And they do not reward that.
Okay, and then I guess finally is what's next for Jimmy? Have you talked about an avatar or having a virtual Jimmy somewhere?
I mean, you don't have to hate where you are to want to be better, right? So it's that I'm doing fine. I
Well, I think in biomechanics, there's something that if you're not trying to get better, you actually get worse. Like in tennis, for example, you're not trying to improve, you'll probably get worse.
Yeah, but I would imagine that's the case. I think there's a tendency as well of like, the enemy of creativity is the pram in the hallway. I try and kind of keep I'm lucky, I suppose, in a way, another way, that you can book a tour. We book tours in like 3-year chunks. So you kind of booked. And it's very easy on a phone call with your manager to go, yeah, book 8 shows a week. I'll do 2 a night, Wednesday, Saturday for the next 3 years. Stick them in. And it's like one bit of kind of resolve on that phone call. And then when they're in the diary, they're in the diary. I guess I'll turn up and do them. Great, people have bought tickets. Lovely.
But the avatar going into a different form of...
I think that'll be a great marketing tool, like doing an avatar and something that you can... Because I think increasingly sales is less about buying advertising space and more about, as you say, you're putting out the product in different spaces and allowing people to mess around with it in different ways. So I think, without giving too much away, I think everything will become slightly more bespoke in entertainment. And I think AI will allow that, and that might be rather fun.
That'll be disruption.
Yeah, bit of disruption.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I've gone all over the place. It's been really interesting.
I would have taken it to further places.
the time's gone so quickly. So.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Was that all right? I don't know.
You can do another thank you, Jimmy, and everything again.
Okay.
We'll let that continue on. So you can close it off now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you, Jimmy.
It feels insincere now. Yes. This guy said it.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you,
Keep
Jimmy.
that in. This is all organic.
Thank you, Jimmy, for coming on my show. It was,
yeah.
It's like I went on this mate of mine
I've
had a
forgotten
birthday
his
party.
name. What's his name? Something Farley.
This mate of mine
Something
had
Farley. We're not in the same.
George.
It'd be great if we could have filmed this in the same room.
Charlie Farley.
Yeah.
Obviously, we couldn't make the same day, so we filmed this separately, and then it's been edited. It almost looks like we're in the same space, but actually, Richard Farley's not a real person. Australia's not a real place.
I've heard that.
He does the voice
And does it well.
Yeah.